Well, I sure do. Let me ask you a question. How do you like spending your money? Video games are an expensive hobby. There's no getting around that. So, if that's a hobby of yours, you're gonna be forking over the cash. I mean, if you want to enjoy a modern game to its fullest potential, you're gonna need a PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, or a powerful enough PC. The consoles are going to be far less expensive, but if you want to take advantage of features, you'll need a 4K TV set, which can cost you thousands. We'll say about $2,000. Oh, and make sure your house is Ethernet if the games are online, because Lord knows the servers these companies will be putting out are not going to work as promised. Alright, go ahead and add an extra controller to the mix if the game is co-op, since your console is only gonna come with one, but keep in mind that those extra controllers can cost as much as a new game. Speaking of new games, let's pick out the game we want to play, pay $70 United States to play it on launch, and it'll be on sale for $40 just the following month. Pay an extra $10 to get the Digital Deluxe Edition so we can play it 4 days early, and don't forget the $40 Day 1 DLC. Of course, if you're a real fan, you'll get the $300 Collector's Edition, including such luxuries as even more plastic, and don't forget that subscription service to play online. So, if you're someone who doesn't own any of this stuff, and you desperately want to play a modern game the second it's available in the highest quality technologically possible, with all that Day 1 DLC, we'll say it launches with about $30 worth, and the junk that comes in the Collector's Edition, that's going to cost you, let's see, $2,000 TV, $500 console, $70 game, make that $100 counting DLC, and now add another $100 for the Collector's Edition, you'll be spending about $2,700. Enjoy the game, bitch. Now, obviously a lot of this is exaggerated. You don't need a 4K TV, you don't need the Collector's Edition, hell, you don't even need the most modern console. A lot of these games are releasing on both this gen and last gen hardware. If you're that desperate to play a game, I'm sure you can find a secondhand PS4 for far less than a PS5. Yeah, it's not gonna run as great on that console, but if you're looking to game on a budget, that doesn't matter, does it? I've noticed a bunch of videos about gaming on a budget, and if you want advice, you should go watch one of them. What I want to talk about in this video is why? Why do companies sell us these overpriced versions of games for a slight upgrade or kinda cool collectible, when there's options out there for 10 times cheaper without sacrificing much? Xbox Game Pass, secondhand consoles, cloud gaming if you're the spawn of Satan, even just waiting for a discount. There's so many ways to game the system, so why do they try to sell us this junk? Because dumbasses like me buy it! Video games. We all love them, we all play them. But who needs to play games when you can own everything surrounding the game? As of late, I've noticed that gaming as a medium attracts a very specific type of person. I already own this game multiple times, guys. For some reason, there's something about this medium which warrants, or at least encourages, wasting money. And today, I want to figure out why, and ultimately answer the question, do video game players waste money? Yes, the answer is yes. Gaming isn't like other mediums. In fact, it's sort of in its infancy compared to mediums like books and movies. Despite this, games evolve incredibly fast and require peripherals other mediums don't. I mean, I can rent any movie on any TV or stream it on one of the dozens of available services because these are movies, they're video files. The most expensive and high-tech movies that cost the most to make won't have any more trouble running on a crappy TV than something like Frankenstein. Of course, movies have options for quality, which will require a bit more horsepower from the TV. But one TV should do the trick, and if you really care about 4K quality, then go buy a 4K TV set. Games, on the other hand, require player input in an actual system. You don't see movies exclusive to certain TVs, you only see them exclusive to certain apps and services. Paying $4 extra a month so you can watch one show on a streaming service you didn't have is much less of a commitment than buying a $500 console, simply because that's the only way you can play Spider-Man 2. The Spider-Man movies are exclusive to $4 streaming service, the games are exclusive to your next few paychecks. Of course, there are ways to get around this, especially for classic games, but I think it's this aspect of the medium that explains a bit of why my wallet is empty. Certain games are not playable on the consoles you own, that's just a fact. If you want to play something like Pokemon Battle Revolution and you don't own a Wii, go find one secondhand. Plus, a lot of people like to see how games were on their original hardware. Yeah, I can play Pikmin 1 on Switch, and I will, but hey, let's get the GameCube version too, why the heck not? Buying multiple consoles across a bunch of different generations is just a part of the grind for collectors and people who want to play specific games. Of course, more and more classic titles are being made available on modern consoles, which is amazing. but it doesn't change the fact that people want to experience these games in the way they were intended on the hardware they were for. And for other games, you just flat out have to get older consoles because they haven't been made available otherwise. Yet again, I want to emphasize that I'm looking at this topic from the point of view of trying to figure out why players spend a lot of money on this classic hardware. I'm aware that emulation exists, and if you desperately want to play a game but you don't want to buy a whole new console, then yeah, just become a pirate. But it's this rich history of the medium and the different feel of all these different consoles that creates an air of want for this older hardware. You don't have to own a Nintendo 64 to play Mario 64. There's more than enough official and unofficial methods. But there's a reason why people do. Nothing can replicate that classic feel, and that's my excuse for owning 2 Game Boy Advances. Don't shame me, they were different models. Actually, that's another thing. Console revisions. Companies are constantly upgrading during the generation. PS4 Pro, Switch OLED, Xbox One S, Game Boy Advance SP, DS Lite, new 3DS, new 3DS XL. Can't forget the PSP Go! All of these are great examples of minor upgrades that capitalize on the FOMO of your average Joe. I mean, I can't just have a slightly lower quality screen on my Switch that I mostly use docked anyways. Take $350, Nintendo. Oh, thank God I upgraded. Gaming offers such a unique way in which to experience it that buying these systems and games and controllers become games in themselves. Not just ways to experience a new piece of media. It's why physical games are still prevalent and honestly abundant, whereas it takes me a decade to find the Blu-ray section in Target. Owning 3 Switches is not going to aid me in any way in terms of experiencing the game on them. And yet I do, because I'm a fan of Nintendo, I wanted to own all the different models, and I like wasting money. But that's not all there is to it. Sure, games have a rich history, but if you don't give a rat's ass about that, then why is your credit card still being scanned faster than the speed of light? Ah yes, the fear of missing out. We've all come across it, but in games it seems more prevalent than ever. I already mentioned this in terms of console upgrades, but let's not forget about those sweet, sweet limited edition deals. Splatoon-themed Switch, Spider-Man-themed PS4, Target-themed Game Boy. Why does this exist again? Speaking of Target, we've got store-exclusive deals and games and pre-order bonuses. Why buy the digital version when you'll miss out on that plastic box? Why buy the physical version when you're gonna miss out on the midnight release? Here's a great idea, just buy both! All of this and many, many, many more strategies are employed by video game companies every day to prey on that FOMO. But in no instance is this more prevalent than with, trigger warning for the M word, microtransactions. Loot boxes, gacha systems, cosmetics, pay-to-win, digital deluxe editions, day 1 DLC, post-launch DLC, expansion passes, pre-order bonuses, anything to get you to spend more money on an already full-price game. Microtransactions are an extremely prominent part of this industry nowadays, and it all goes back to that fear of missing out. Games like Fortnite and Genshin Impact will lock certain characters and cosmetics behind a paywall and then give you a limited time to buy it. Even if you may not have wanted this stuff in the first place, who knows when you might get the chance to buy it again? Why not buy it now and just be safe? Not to mention, Sega's most recent money-hungry tactic being the Digital Deluxe Edition, forcing you to buy the most expensive version of the game to get all the unnecessary Day 1 DLC at a little discount with the promise of being able to play the game digitally a few days earlier than the physical version will release. Of course, if you pre-order the regular digital edition, you still have to wait it out, so why not fork over those extra $10, maybe $20 to be one of the first people to ever play this shitty Sonic 3 remaster. Yeah, you want to pay an extra $10 on this already $60 collection of decades-old games so you can play the improved versions early? See, here's the thing, Sega. I could already play these games a few decades early. You want to know how? It's called owning a Sega Genesis! Speaking of pre-orders, we can't forget those now, can we? Spend your hard-earned money for the promise of a game, and we'll double promise you a free cosmetic as thanks. That way, everyone online will know just how much you care. You really care, don't you? Games are a unique medium, one that's constantly adapting to industry trends and player wants. And as long as players keep this sense of FOMO, companies will never stop trying to find new ways to make you spend more money on their games. Generally speaking, gaming as a medium lends itself more to collecting than other mediums. Like I said before, the history of it is so vast that there's far more to go out and actually find that's unique and interesting than, say, DVDs. Who collects DVDs? Plus, companies just flood shelves with merch based off of their games, and if you're a fan of only one specific game, you still have so much to collect. I actually recently met somebody at my work who was wearing an Earthbound shirt. I said I liked it, and he proceeded to tell me how obsessed he is with that game, going as far as to own original advertisements and a factory sealed copy of the game. That's one game right there, and if you know anything about Earthbound, it's already an extremely expensive game to collect memorabilia for. If you know anything about me, it's that I love me some Pikmin. So yeah, I have personally gone out of my way to buy all the different versions of the same damn games on each of the consoles they've been re-released on. GameCube, Wii, Wii U, Switch. Even if I rarely play some of these versions because I prefer one over the other, it doesn't make me any less excited to buy it. I own 2 copies of Pikmin 4, a digital one so I could do the midnight release, and a physical one that I simply bought to have. I'm gonna keep it sealed because what reason do I have to open it? I can already play the game on any of the 3 Switches I own! I got this one at the launch of the console. Then my brother got this Switch Lite a few years back. Then he upgraded to an OLED and sold the Lite to me since he knew I liked collecting, so naturally I couldn't just let him have a better system, so I bought myself a Splatoon 3 edition OLED. So, now I own all the models. I don't need all 3 of these, but I don't want to sell them either. Each piece of my collection has a story behind it. I mean, yeah, OLED's better, but I've used this original model Switch for 7 years of my life. Getting rid of that would be like leaving behind a part of myself. If all game consoles were just black boxes, this wouldn't be nearly as interesting. But they aren't. That's a reason to own a Game Boy Advance and a Game Boy Advance SP. Functionally, they're the same, but they have such different looks and feels. I prefer playing GBA games on my SP, which naturally means my original model rarely gets used, but that doesn't mean I regret buying it. I think this is the biggest reason why video game players waste money, because there's so much stuff to waste it on. No matter how niche your interests are, there's always something more you can get in terms of memorabilia for a specific game. I mean, I once walked into a store and impulsively spent $300 on retro game stuff. I've been saving up for a while and wanted to treat myself. What did I get? A game I can't even play. Persona 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. No, you know what? It's my favorite game of all time. Full stop. Whether we're talking about Reload, the original, Fez, Portable, it doesn't matter. I love this game. So when I saw this, I wanted it. For no other reason than that it held emotional significance to me. This is a factory-sealed collector's edition of Persona 3 Fez from 2008. Look at this advertisement for P4 on the back. It feels like a time capsule. This thing has been kept in great condition, and I'm so glad it has because it looks brand new. Every penny spent on this was worth it. I don't regret spending $300 whole on this because, to me, this isn't a waste of money. Money is an interesting thing, isn't it? We all depend on it, it's the root of all problems and the solution to most hardships. Everyone has a different relationship with money, from barely thinking about it to never knowing how you'll get it next. No 2 people will ever be in the same position regarding money. However, one thing that it seems like everyone can agree on is that money cannot buy happiness. But it can buy me a GameCube. The subject of money is, and always will be, touchy, but at the end of the day, as long as you're smart about how you spend your money, make sure necessities are covered, spending your money on something you enjoy will never be a waste. If you can afford to blow $200 on a collector edition of a game, as long as you're happy with that purchase, no one has the right to call that a waste of money. I started scripting this video with the idea that the answer to this question would be extremely cut and dry. Of course video game players waste money. Have you seen the prices on some of this stuff? But the more I thought about it, the more I started to disagree with my conclusion. Yes, $300 for a game I've already played simply to own a version that I can't play is absurd on paper. I knew that when I bought the damn thing. And yet, I would sooner break my leg than sell it. It's important to me. Past financial value. I have an emotional connection to it. Which leads us back to the question at hand. Do video game players waste money? No. Honestly, who cares what I blow my paychecks on? You may consider it a waste as an outsider, but with all due respect, that opinion doesn't matter. If you find value in something and you want to buy it, then go ahead. As long as you're not hurting people who financially depend on you or putting yourself in a bad situation, there's no reason for not buying something that an outside person can provide that can be taken seriously because it's not their money. If you want to spend thousands of dollars on Fortnite because it makes you happy, then do it. If you want to collect memorabilia of some random game you like, then go ahead. If you want to buy another Switch, I'm not stopping you. There's always a cheaper option to experience a game, whether that be waiting for a price drop or using a cloud gaming service. But if you don't want to wait, and if you care about owning this game, that's $60, maybe $70. It's not a waste. So, do video game players waste money? No. The answer is no. Hey everyone, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Before I say anything else, I just want to implore everybody here to please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. YouTube does not allow monetization until you reach 1,000 subscribers, and at the time of recording this, we are currently at 325, which is awesome. We are on our way there. So yeah, if you are not yet subscribed, and you just came across this video, or if you watched the Miitopia video and you liked that but didn't subscribe, and then you're watching this video, please subscribe. It really goes a long way to helping me. It does so much more than you know, and it's completely free, so please, please subscribe. Now, after all of that shameless self-promotion, let's take a little bit of a step back. I posted on my community tab recently, that asking you guys what my next video should be. If you haven't voted on that, you should. I honestly think I'm gonna go with FNAF Help Wanted 2, because, I have a lot to say on that, but I am planning on doing a Bugs Next video eventually. Definitely. Other than that, if you are new here and you haven't checked out my previous video, go ahead and check it out. It's on Miitopia. It's almost an hour long, and it was a huge passion project of mine, so if you enjoyed this, and you want more, there's a lot more where that came from with, that video. So, yeah, without further ado, or, I don't know why I said further ado, but, yeah, see ya, I guess. Of course, if you're a real fan, you'll get the $300 collector's edition, including sex. Including sex. When you mispronounce such, and you I'm adding bloopers just for that.